What's everybody? What's up, everyone, and welcome back to the Veras channel. That is this channel, and I am them, and I will be your non-binary pansexual host for this evening. So it's Pride Month, I hope, still, and so I decided, hey, I want to talk about Pride Month stuff. I want to talk about gay stuff. It's the time of year to be gay and do crime. So I'm here to be gay and legally do crime. Don't keep that in. Today I want to talk about something that is very near and dear to my own heart when it comes to LGBTQ plus representation. Late bloomers. Now, what is a late bloomer? Well, a late bloomer is somebody who figured out their sexuality or their identity later in life, either a little bit later or much later than most people find out in their lives. I kind of started noticing this trend where there's a bit of an underrepresentation for people who find out about this stuff later into their lives. Speaking as somebody who was a late bloomer theirself, this is something that I take very seriously. I think it's very important to tell the story of everyone. You know, it is very commonplace for people to find out that, you know, they like something from a certain age, but it's also very valid for some people not to figure out that they like that until much, much later. There are also the people that know that they like that stuff, but they like push it down, very, very deep down. So today I just wanted to go through my story. I wanted to go through my experiences with this stuff and kind of maybe give some advice for people who are in this type of situation that I was in, or, you know, just share my story for Pride Month, because, you know, I wanted to do something related to Pride, and there's nothing more personal than this story that I'm about to tell you for me. So yeah, let's just jump right into it. So when did I figure out that I liked men? From a young age, I will say there were signs, but the signs that showed up when I was a kid, there wasn't really a lot of solid evidence. When I look back, there's a lot of things that I did in my personal time that were pretty strong signifiers. The culture that I grew up with taught me that didn't mean anything. It was just, you know, people have those moments in their lives where that happened. So I just kind of figured like, oh, it doesn't really mean anything. This mindset lasted for a while. I didn't really read too deeply into the things that I liked. I didn't really read too deeply into the type of media that I was consuming. That was up until I turned 17. So this is the story of what I like to call how my girlfriend made me gay. The story basically goes that my girlfriend and I at the time were at Canopy Lake Park, and we were hanging out all day, and I didn't really like going on the rides because I'm not really an amusement park person. I love the aesthetic of amusement parks, but rides terrify me. So they were going on rides with their friends, and I was just kind of chilling, holding their shit. I was the pack mule for the day, basically. And essentially what happened, they had to leave, and so they went off. They were with like a camp group, so they left. They went on the bus, and so I was sitting waiting for my parent to come pick me up. I think I was too scared to drive on the highway at the time, so I had my mom and dad drive me up. So I sat at one of like those side games where, like, you know, you squirt like water into a hole and you win a prize if you get in first. And I was sitting at this one because it had Mario prizes. And basically what happened was I had won once. I won a star plushie and I was like, yay. And then I won again, but I was versing a kid, so I gave the prize to the kid instead. That sparked a conversation between me and the person running the stand, where the person was like, oh, that was very nice of you. I was like, yeah, well, you know, I'm 17 and they're like, you know, 8. So it only seemed fair. So anyway, we started talking. We were hanging out. We were talking, blah, blah, blah. We exchanged Snapchats. I ended up telling my parents to wait outside for like an additional like hour or two because I was like so enveloped in the conversation. I didn't really think of anything of it. I was like, oh, I made a new friend. So then a few months later, I broke up with my girlfriend. I think like a month or two after that, I was on Snapchat and I saw that person again. I was like, I remember when I met this person. I was like, oh, well, they're kind of cute. Oh, but I don't know what gender they are. It's like, well, I think they're a dude. Why doesn't that bother me? That was kind of the start of it, where I was like, oh, I was willing to just go out with a guy. A lot of the time, I always hear these stories. People are always like, oh, I knew by the time I was 13. I wasn't really exposed to a lot of that stuff as a kid. There wasn't really a lot of LGBT representation. A lot of the shows that I watched kind of made fun of LGBT stuff a lot. I even remember being a kid And I remember being like, oh man, it must be so cool to be a girl. So basically what happened was I had these thoughts and I had these feelings and I was like, this is very new. This is very different. And I guess that probably means that I'm bisexual. The problem with me coming out as bisexual, I had some complications with my coming out. It made me kind of double back on myself and doubt myself because I was like, well, you've never had a crush on a guy before, so that's not possible. It's like, that can't be right. This is kind of what brings me to the next part of this story. I have obsessive compulsive disorder. I have the germ version. I have the self-doubt version. I have the social version. It's bad. And so basically from the age 17 to even now, I struggled trying to figure out what I wanted, how I felt, and like what I thought was genuine or not. I mean, I'm 23 right now, so I was 17 when this started. So that's like 6 years, I think. That's a long time to be like doubting yourself so much. And I know that, you know, for anybody in the audience who also experienced this issue, where maybe you were in my shoes where you had OCD and you were trying to figure all this stuff out, you know how this feels, where it's like, you don't really know what's real. Like your emotions and your thoughts and your feelings all are conflicting, and it's like every one of them wants something different, and it's like, and maybe I'm not looking hard enough, and I'll admit to that, but I feel like there isn't a whole lot of media that's out that deals with a lot of those topics. A lot of the media that I have seen that deals with LGBT stuff is primarily people who already know what they like, or people who are already confident in themselves. You know, that's a very valid experience and a very valid perspective to tell the story of, and I want them to keep telling those types of stories because it is very important to have those types of stories as well. But I also feel a little left out because there aren't a lot of stories about the people who struggled figuring out what they like. And for me, like, I spent 6 years of my life like really trying to figure out like what I liked. And like there was a long time where I basically had myself convinced that the only reason that I liked dudes was because I had watched adult content with men in it. I was just trying to find a reason to explain it away. My brain couldn't comprehend that for 17 years I didn't find guys attractive, and then all of a sudden I did. So I wasn't really exposed to it that much, and so most of the content that I got with that was online. It kind of became this thing where I kind of shoved it to the back of my mind, where I was like, I'll just say that I'm like questioning, and I'll just shove it to the back of my mind and not think about it. And kind of all through college, I didn't think about it too much. Like I thought about it sometimes and the feelings would reemerge and I would just kind of like be like, whatever. When I left college and during COVID, there was a lot of problems that I encountered. There was a lot of emotions that I was repressing because of my OCD. I had people-pleasing issues. Because of that, a lot of things that I would rather say or present myself with, I would hide because I would rather be accepted than be myself, which is a problem, and don't do that. Please be yourself. And if you have OCD, I know that's so much easier than it sounds, but trust me when I say this, it is way easier to be yourself and lose people in your life who you thought were your friends than to hide who you are just to appeal to a mass audience. Now, I understand there's also situations where it's like you feel like it's not safe to come out. Wait till you're in a safe environment to come out, and I am so sorry that you're in that situation. I hope you find a safe space soon. So with the OCD and the people-pleasing and COVID and all of this stuff happening at the same time, I broke. I had a lot of emotional regulation issues, so I ended up going to therapy in I think 2021, and it took like 3 years with several different counselors and therapists to finally like unravel everything and be happy and confident with who I am today. People with OCD, like, you know as well as I, that you need that evidence. You need that hard evidence. Some days you just have to put it aside and just trust your feelings and trust your gut. And that is so hard to do. There are days where I don't know what I like. You know, I don't know what I'm interested in. I don't know, like, it's like, do I like this? Do I want this? Do I want this? You got to try to heal your inner child as much as you can and try to have that conversation with yourself where it's like, no, like, this is what I want. Yeah, well, how do you know if like it's gonna work out? It's like, I don't know if it's gonna work out. For people with OCD, that's scary as shit, but I have to try because there's only one way to find out, and it's just by doing it. And it's like, I know what I want, I know what I want to do, so I'm gonna go do it, and I'm gonna go to experience it, and if I like it, I'm gonna stay with it, I'm gonna keep with it. But it's like, if I don't like it, then I'll just change. I say I'm pansexual now, but it's like, who knows? In 5 years, I might just be gay. I don't know. The wonderful thing about being in the LGBT community is that everything is super fluid. You can feel a certain way one day and then feel another way another day, and it's completely and totally valid. Anybody who is having problems with OCD and is in the LGBT community is trying to figure out their place in the world. Take it from somebody who has OCD and is in the LGBTQ plus community. Take a second, breathe, trust what you want. If you have something that you know that you want, even if it scares you, go for it. Trust me. I have had plenty of experiences where I just did it and I loved it and it was awesome. And I found out so much more about myself. And as long as nobody's getting hurt, then it's fine. One of the things that I did is I went to Pride Boston this year, which was awesome. It was a lot of fun. It was fucking gigantic, and I didn't realize that. Somebody also stole my playlist and had it playing over the loudspeakers. There was an LGBT club in my college that I attended a few times, but the sheer scale of people that was there, incredible. It was amazing. It was life-changing. Just to be in that environment and to experience it firsthand was borderline magical, honestly. It was crazy. So I also want to round out to kind of the second part of this video that I kind of want to talk about, which is the representation of all this stuff in media and what I'm doing to try and help that situation. If you don't know, I'm writing a comic series called Zany Zooland, which is a part of a bigger series called the Bioprism Anthology series. The comic series that I'm working on has a lot of LGBT representation in it and also has some representation of people who found out later in life. And I think that it's very interesting to be able to tell those stories, and it's very important to tell those stories because then it offers a different perspective and it includes more people that can relate to something like that, like me, where I found out a little bit later than most people did. The Zany Zooland series and the Bioprism Anthology series has also been kind of my therapeutic playground, as most writers do with their series. If you've known the series and you've known me for a while, you'll know that Cassie Cat is kind of a self-insert character. When I was younger, I was a lot more confident, energetic, very sassy as well. It is a universe where I was exposed to LGBT stuff a lot sooner, and I decided that I was non-binary a lot sooner, and also I'm a cat. So you know, there's that difference as well. There's also just a bunch of like personality archetypes and stories that I want to tell with these characters that I feel like don't get told very often, but kind of using the stereotypes that we have, but building off of them to kind of make them more unique. It's good to have that basis where a lot of people can relate to, but then expanding upon it even further so that there are people in those specific situations who can still relate to the situation and can hold on to a character as their representation in the media. And I think that more media and more projects should make use of that. It's also very important to recognize that there are people who are in that situation, but then have their own personal spin on it. Nothing against people who found out earlier in life. If you weren't able to accept yourself sooner, I hope you accept yourself now, or I hope if you don't accept yourself now, that you are on the road to accepting yourself, because it is extremely important to accept yourself and the parts of yourself that are there, because hey, you are all that you've got. So you got to love yourself, and you got to love every part of yourself. And as long as you're not getting hurt, and as long as somebody else isn't getting hurt, embrace it. That's all I got to say. While in 2024, it is getting a lot better with representation and with stuff like that, which is fantastic, and I'm really happy about that. I think we still have a long way to go, and I am trying to kind of be at the forefront of that, and I really, really want to push the boundaries of these characters, and I really want to use my comic and my platform as a way to include the people who might feel left out. There are a lot of late bloomers who are like, I'm not really represented in media that much. I got you covered. I'm trying my best. I hope you guys enjoy it. I hope I write it well. And I severely hope I can help you feel included. And I want everybody to feel represented in this. Here's to hoping that I can write the story well and actually achieve the goal that I'm setting out to do. If I start to stray, you got to let me know. Please keep me humble. Don't yell at me, but keep me humble. Let's end with this quote. Repeat after me. It is okay to find out I'm gay later in the day. Okay, now your turn. Lovely. Now, I rambled a lot. I probably missed some stuff, and I might have misworded something. So if I did, I apologize about that. But I hope that this video reaches the right person, and I hope that somebody who needs to hear this will hear this. So thank you everybody so much for watching, and I hope you all have a wonderful day and happy Pride Month, and I'll see you in the next one.